They say you can't win an Ironman in the swim, but you can lose it. Okay, so you're probably not trying to win an Ironman, and that saying's more for the pros who are going to lose a bit of time in the swim. But the principle is just as important for you. If you get your swim wrong, you're in for a long, hard day. So how do you pace your Ironman swim properly so you don't burn all your matches before your day's even really begun? We're here to help with GTN's top 5 tips for how to pace your Ironman swim. The swim is generally the shortest part of a long distance triathlon, and it comes first when you're freshest. So it really shouldn't dictate your success or failure in that long distance triathlon, but it can. And you can lose vital minutes in the swim that later on in the day can make the difference between podium in your age group or getting under 14 hours or 12 hours or even 10 hours. And you also don't want to overcook the swim and get out of it so exhausted that you need 20 minutes in T1 to gather yourself before you can even turn the pedals. So pacing yourself in your swim is vitally important, but it can be hard to pace yourself in an Ironman swim. You can't really look at your watch for heart rate or GPS data while you're going, and even if you could, heart rate and GPS data are notoriously inaccurate in the swim. So how do you pace yourself in an Ironman swim? Well, here are GTN's 5 tips to do exactly that. Before we start with our tips, just a quick reminder, if you enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe to GTN so that you don't miss any of our future videos. Our first tip is to know your race pace. And by this we mean know what you're capable of swimming 3.8 Ks or 1.9 Ks for a 70.3. Now, we're not saying you should go out every week and swim 3.8 Ks at race pace to know what you're capable of, but you should do some tests of 800 meters or 1,000 meters or 1,500 meters at your chosen race effort so that you know what it feels like, you know what too fast feels like and what too slow feels like. Ideally, you do at least some of these tests in the conditions that you're going to have on race day, such as the lake or ocean that you're going to race in. And the most open water swim venues will have a marked horse or marked buoy that they know the distance of, and you can time yourself and see what pace you're capable of. And on that note, it's worth pointing out that just because you tapered and fresh on race day doesn't mean you're going to be able to swim minutes faster than you did in training. While you may go a few seconds faster, what you swim in training will dictate the pace that you're capable of on race day. So don't get carried away at the start of that Ironman swim. Tip 2, know yourself. And this you can and will learn while you're doing those test swims that I spoke about before and while you're doing all your other swims. Learn to listen to how you breathe in, what your arms are feeling like, so that you can judge the pace. You can judge when you're going too hard and it's going to start burning. You can judge when you're going too easy and you can push a little bit more just by using that breathe-in rhythm and how your arms are feeling. This way you can judge your pace without that external feedback of a pace clock or a GPS watch or a heart rate monitor. Tip 3, know the course and conditions. If you can get into the swim course before race day, you should, to get a feel for what that course feels like. And if you can't because you're not allowed, then at the very least, learn the map. All races will publish a race course map, which will show you the distances between the buoys. And you can learn these, and then a quick, careful glance at your watch whilst you're swimming can tell you whether you're on roughly the right pace, because you know how far you are through the swim. And just be aware, of course, that those buoys are not always that accurate compared to those original maps. They tend to move, and also the conditions out there will tend to affect your pace. So bear that in mind and don't get too caught up with your swim if it does feel slower than you thought it was going to be. If it's slower, it might be that everyone is a lot slower on that day's conditions. Tip 4, start smart. The start can make or break your swim. And pacing it can actually be the hardest part. You're surrounded by athletes, your adrenaline is pumping, you're fresh and tapered, and it can be all too easy to just start a little bit too hard. And about 400 meters into a 3,800 meter swim, you find yourself falling apart. This is something you don't want. If your goal is just to finish your Ironman, then start slowly. I mean really slowly, really conservatively. If your goal is Kona qualification or winning your age group or a PB time, then it's a little bit more tricky because you don't want to waste any time and you want to get surrounded by athletes that are swimming at the same speed as you and not let those feet go. But still, starting slower than you think you need to is the safer option. You want to start as fast as possible, but be conservative. It's far better to be that strong swimmer who started slowly, swimming past other swimmers, than be that fast starter who's been swum over later on in the swim. Tip 5, use your fellow swimmers. While every other swimmer out there might feel like an obstacle, a challenge, a competitor, and the truth is they may be your best bet for a fast swim. You can use them to draft off, to navigate off, and even to pace off. So don't be afraid of sharing that space with your other competitors, and don't be afraid of invading anyone else's space. As the faster swimmer goes past you, hop on those feet, get into those bubbles, and stay there for as long as you can, and switch off the sighting and the pacing for yourself. If the pace is too hot, you can always drop back. If it's too slow, you can always swim around them. Either way, that minute or 5 that you spend sitting on their feet has only helped you. And a final bonus tip: be patient, calm, and flexible. The swim start can be frantic, and small things can feel like major things. A bump to your goggles, a leaky wetsuit, or a fist to the face can make you really want to slow down or even stop. Or worse, can make you want to swim twice as hard to make up that time. But trust us, when you look back in 8 or 9 or 14 hours, you'll wonder what all the fuss was about over a few seconds here or there at the beginning of the swim. So stay calm, stay patient, it's a long day. Pacing an Ironman swim can be tricky, but hopefully our tips today have helped you get the most out of it. Just keep swimming, focus on your own breathing, your own pace, and your own progress. And you'll find that when you get out of that swim, you haven't paced it half as badly as you thought you had halfway through the swim. And you've set yourself up for one of the most memorable days of your life. Good luck with your Ironman, and happy racing.